I didn't know what being overwhelmed was. It wasn't a personality thing I dealt with very much until little people were relying on me. I also nannied and babysat a ton. And so the practical part of mothering, the day-to-day tasks of mothering, was not worrying me at all. I knew how to take care of an infant. Like, I had done a lot of hours of that. I had a little brother, and I also had babysat. People left really small babies with me when I was 12 years old. I'm like, what were those people thinking? But it was a thing then. You did. You just you were a living, breathing young lady. You could take care of a baby. You know, okay.
Yeah.
So, but I will say, the weight of spiritual responsibility was different. That hit different for Dan and for me. Welcome, friends. We're so glad you're here. We are continuing with season 2, the Sisterhood of Motherhood, here on the Well Grounded podcast. We're so glad you're here. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. And we are just privileged to get to do a little bit of a deep dive on just motherhood.
We are just happy to share all these wonderful opportunities with our guest speakers that we have joined with us for our episodes. We are excited to give you encouragement, just be able to help you walk in your role as a mom, and to just know that you have a place and a space with us, and that you can find that encouragement. I am Diane.
And I am Leanne.
And we are two friends that are sharing life over coffee and conversations on the Well Grounded podcast. And we are just excited to add you into our day to day.
Yes. Before we introduce our guest, we're going to have our latte moment.
Yes.
Are you ready?
We are ready. And our latte moment today is a peppermint mocha latte. You know, we're in the season of holidays, and we thought this would be a wonderful opportunity to just give a little pizzazz. So honestly, I think almost everyone has had one of these before, whether you've had it at a coffee shop or you can even make it at home, but you will definitely find the recipe in our notes, and it's not too difficult. You can use any sort of coffee that you would like, but then you add either a peppermint syrup, or you can add different things that you will find at the store. I just added a peppermint stick, which will definitely be great. And then you can add cocoa powder to the top, some milk that is frothed, and you will just enjoy that. So it's great on a cold day. So wherever you are listening, enjoy that peppermint mocha latte.
All right. I'm so excited to introduce our guest to you today. So I'm enjoying a peppermint too. But our guest is also named Leanne, but as I refer to her as the best Leanne. So this is Leanne Ramirez, and she is an incredible friend of mine. Work in a ministry together. She is a grad student currently. She is married with a precious baby that, if she would let me, I would steal and keep. But and her little sweet baby is excited to she's happy to share her mom right now. So she's usually excited when she sees me, honestly, but she's a little sweetheart that kicks her little arms and legs. But we are so excited to invite Leanne into this conversation today.
Yes.
She's wise beyond her years. She is, I often hear her encouraging women several generations older than her, and just sharing her faith and her walk. And she's the real deal, and we are so excited to have her here. But we've invited her to talk about what today?
Our expectations versus reality of motherhood. And one of the reasons, Leanne, that we had you come on is because you're a new mom, and we know that is a stage and an age that is definitely, can be challenging, and you have a lot of questions. And we just wanted to offer that opportunity that, you can kind of come on, and you can ask us questions, as well as we can kind of share and hear about your insights as well. So we're excited to welcome you today.
Thank you, guys. It's so good to be with you. That was such an intro. Thank you.
All true.
Yes.
So good. So I'm Leanne. I am 25, so I am on the younger end of the spectrum there. But I have Evelyn. She's almost 9 months. And I have my husband, Joel. We've been married for about 3 years. And like she said, I'm a grad student. I'm a mom. We also serve at church.
I was going to say worship leaders together.
I serve in high school ministry.
Ministry.
And just all the above and in between. Yeah.
That's
How do you feel like you're pulling all of that off? Just to jump right into that, like, do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel pretty peaceful, and each day is good?
It depends on the day and whether I've had my quiet time with the Lord.
That's good.
Sometimes, obviously, it's very overwhelming depending on the day, but just relying on the Lord through it all. Because some days are pretty crazy, especially I do right now bring Evelyn to work with me. And so you really don't know what you're going to get sometimes. Sometimes she's very chill and I can get like most of my stuff done. And then sometimes she's maybe teething right now. So you could get a lot of tears or a lot of pain. Who knows?
Yeah.
But mostly she's a really good baby.
Well, and you think about all the stages in the first year. I mean, they go through so many different things that they go from, you know, being very still and quiet and doing those things to the walking and talking and doing all that by the end. So, I mean, it's definitely, you go through a lot of different things in those first 12 months.
You feel like you get the groove on something and then they do a new skill or a new trick or something.
She was 3 months and she was sleeping through the night. So like maybe 9 hours straight.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And then that was like 5 months ago. And then
it was a distant memory.
And then they have those growth spurts.
And then the teething.
They change.
But it was like one regression after another. So right now we're up to like 2-3 wakes per night.
Baby.
When she's super teething, she's like 6-7 times per night.
Wow.
So it just,
Y'all are also really fun parents, and I think she just wants to hang out with you.
That's probably
yes.
So
she might have
she just
FOMO.
wants snuggles.
She said a little FOMO.
Yes, she might
hey,
have
I could be
some
up
FOMO.
partying with my parents right now. So
and it's true. I mean, I think babies do get FOMO, so I think that's actually a real thing. So I mean, I think they really enjoy. A lot of babies are very social, and they enjoy being around other people. So I mean, they realize that, and sometimes they're just like, wait, take me with you.
Yeah.
So it's
I don't want to miss this. This looks
Yes.
fun. So
Yeah,
you are pretty fun. So that's good. That's good. Well, we just wanted to dive into this topic of expectations versus reality. I will say, when I was in the season that you're in, I could have talked about motherhood all day long. Like it was so like, does this feel normal? Is this right? Is this what it's supposed to be? So
True.
what do you, before you, just to give us like an overview, before Evelyn, what was your expectation, both day to day or emotionally or spiritually? Like, were you praying? I don't want to ask too personally, but like, were you like praying about and getting spiritually, emotionally ready to be a mom before? Is that something you've always wanted to be a mom, or like, you know, where?
Yeah,
Give us a little background, like kind of before she was
Yeah.
here. Before she was here,
Pre-Evelyn, Leanne's mind.
into the mind of.
So I have always wanted to be a mom. So I was just praying through that. She wasn't necessarily planned, but she also wasn't not planned.
Right.
So
Right.
I've always wanted Evelyn.
Yeah.
Yes, she's.
But I definitely, before she came, I mean, my devotional time was very good with the Lord and very consistent. It is more difficult now for that to happen. But just each day was praying through it. So spiritually, I mean, I feel like you're never actually ready to have a baby because you just don't know what to actually expect.
Right.
You
So
know?
you walk through it,
But
It's really funny because there's that famous book, What to Expect When You're
Yes,
Expecting.
yes.
And you really have
Which
no
is in
idea
my
what
closet.
to expect.
You can read the whole thing and not.
Yeah.
I still don't know what it is. Yeah.
So-
I did read it, but no.
I did not read it, but
Oh.
I'm sorry, Beverly, my mother-in-law got it for me.
It's more of a reference,
Yeah,
guys.
it
Don't
is
feel-
a
for
reference,
If
yes,
you need to look
yes.
something up,
But
it's a
you
good.
know, when we had our kids, which was a while, like we didn't have all the
didn't
other
have the internet.
resources
Yes,
that we
yes,
do
yes,
today.
yes.
So that was
no
kind of
internet.
the book.
Your
Right.
bookshelf
Yeah.
was your internet.
Yeah,
So.
we're
sorry.
showing our age
Yes,
now.
yes.
So-
I mean,
Absolutely.
but spiritually, I feel like I was in a really good place, and you know, Joel was too, and we were talking through a lot of the things. It's just maybe physically or like the preparation of other things I wasn't maybe as ready.
Yeah.
Because because, I mean, I think back to Evelyn came a month early.
Oh, sure.
So
yes,
we had literally started working on a birth plan. So I had a tab open on my laptop. And then that night, my water broke and we went to the hospital and I gave birth to her and I came back and opened my laptop and the tab was open. I'm like, well, that was
There you
unhelpful.
That's ironic.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So all of that
Yes.
was a wild experience.
Yes,
So
right.
I feel like I wasn't prepared for that. And then that went into the whole
Sure.
birth because I wasn't as informed as I should have
Here's
been.
your baby. And
Yes.
now you have the baby.
Yes.
You can't go back and
Or there's like, you know, you're scared it's 3 a.m.
Sure.
Just all of that. So I feel like I didn't have like a moment where I was like, okay, let me mentally prepare for like Evelyn to be here because it just was like 1 a.m. my water breaks. We go to the hospital. Suddenly I have her. We come home and there's still like amniotic fluid on the floor. So it's definitely like just like, you know, you have a whole new identity in a frame of a second, you know.
And you know that you have that responsibility. I mean, it's
Right.
like, you know, there's a little baby there that needs
Right.
you
Yeah.
24/7.
And she was 4 pounds and 14 ounces.
Oh,
And I had never
Yeah.
held a baby that small, and it was my baby.
Sure.
And so she's
that
like
could
a
have
fragile.
been a little intimidating
yeah.
and things. Yeah.
That was
and
for
then
sure.
now, you know, just it's an amazing story because I mean, she's very healthy and thriving
Oh,
and things.
good.
So God is
Yeah.
very good with that. So that's
For sure.
awesome.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I do know, and then, you know, that's great imagery, you know, for people to realize that expectation. And, you know, sometimes in this generation, we Google everything. We go
for
out
sure.
there on the internet. We kind of troll for different things, and it's not necessarily what's actually going to happen. And so I think you do have to kind of paint that picture. I know for myself that, you know, there was a lot of times that I actually did not tell my birth story for anybody because it wasn't the most pleasant. And so I just didn't want to scare anybody. And, you know, it is very personal.
Right.
But, you know, you do, the more you can encourage others that it is different, and if you have other multiple
Right.
children, you know, it's different each
Right.
time,
Right.
you know, so
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
mean it's going to be the same either.
And what you're feeling that second time around of, I didn't get to do the last few weeks of just sitting quiet and preparing, and
Right.
you don't ever get to do that again though,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you have a baby now, so you're already a busy mom.
Yeah.
I told Joel that I feel like pregnancy prepared me for newborn mom vibes because I wasn't sleeping the last 2 months.
Right.
True.
Because I would wake up like 3 or 4 times a night.
It does.
And then
Then
it prepared
That's
me.
that
for-
is that is a
That is.
consistent thing that I've
That
heard.
is.
Because you think, how do new parents do this? How
Yeah.
how are they this sleep deprived?
I know.
Especially, you know, if
Yeah.
you need a lot of sleep just as a
Yeah.
person, which most of us do, but some more than others. But you think, how do you do it? But there's a supernatural meets the natural, which
Yes.
is
Right.
which is one of the things
Yeah.
we wanna jump into
Yeah,
with
definitely.
this. But I go ahead.
I was going to say, we did want to ask because one of our things that we're just interested in. So with season 1, I know that you were a regular listener and you were just, you know, giving us great feedback and things. So what would you say it was one of your favorite episodes?
I would have to say the Marriage Matters episode. Just because I just love all marriage resources in general.
Yeah.
And that's also still the season that I'm into
Sure.
with being only 3 years in.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything is still new and we're learning
And a
new things about
discovery,
each other
everything.
every single day.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a baby.
Yeah.
That prompts new conversations.
Absolutely,
When you say
yeah.
we'll cross that bridge when you come to it and you actually come to the bridge.
We're at the
You have
bridge.
to cross it.
And
We're
you
at
have
the
to cross it. I love that.
That's
That's great.
You're like, guess we need to go back and have that chat. So,
Yes.
aw.
But yeah,
Oh, that's
I
so-
definitely, from that episode, I think you, Diane, were talking about taking time, like at least once a year to
once
do
a year.
something to enrich your marriage.
Yeah.
And I really, you know, agreed with that
Yeah.
as well. And, you know, we do like a yearly marriage
Yeah.
conference, and those are always just really good to
Yeah.
get away. And some of those conversations that when you're in your schedule and you're not having those conversations
definitely.
because you're like, well, I'm focused on, you know, my to-do list or my agenda.
Yes.
And then you're at those conferences and then you're like, oh, these are the 5, 6, 7, 8 questions that,
Yeah.
you know, I've been meaning to talk to him
It's
about.
time to delve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time to delve.
That's awesome. Well,
So-
thank you for sharing that because
yeah.
I mean, it is
That-
really fun to hear.
That was on
feedback.
our hearts for sure.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing more marriage things in the future just because I know 1 30-minute episode is
Oh, yeah.
not as deep dive as we would love
Yeah.
to go on that. But one of the, you know, there's a lot of accountability in us, like
Yeah.
when we're sharing these things.
Yes.
So we're like, when your husband says back to you a quote from the episode, you're like, oh gosh, that's awkward. So it's a lot of fun. But yeah. So
well, it's great to hear that encourages you, because that's our goal, is just to definitely encourage others around.
I also just love hearing about your guys' marriages and just the adventures that you guys have gone through.
Adventures.
You were talking about, Leanne, just getting to have like a sleepover with your spouse each night, and how you still feel like that.
I hear that.
And
yes.
I'm like, that's so great.
I know.
And
I do still see it that way. I do. Dan and I still are like, we get to live together?
Yeah.
What? 30 years? This is pretty
Yes.
fun. Like, that part has not gotten old. We have had more appreciation of that, even in hard seasons, that being able to separate things out and say, we've got to figure out some stuff. We maybe didn't agree on something today, or something that's a bigger issue. But my mom had a phrase that was shelve or delve. Like, if something would come up at like a tension in the family or something. But the funny thing about it is she never really let you shelve it. She just said that to make you feel like you had a choice, but you were going to
really
delve.
didn't have that
you can
choice.
delve now or you can delve later, but you're delving, So the shelve or delve thing has come up a lot with things that are more challenging. But circling back to motherhood for just a second, I just want to, that the whole idea for me, I didn't know what being overwhelmed was. It wasn't a personality thing I dealt with very much until little people were relying on me. I also nannied and babysat a ton. And so the practical part of mothering, the day-to-day tasks of mothering, was not worrying me at all. I knew how to take care of an infant. Like, I had done a lot of hours of that. I had a little brother, and I also had babysat. People left really small babies with me when I was 12 years old. I'm like, what were those people thinking? But it was a thing then. You did. You just you were a living, breathing young lady. You could take care of a baby. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I will say, the weight of spiritual responsibility was different.
Right.
That hit different for Dan and for me. And he was like, I need to go through the whole word. I need to go through every verse. What if they quiz me on a verse and I don't know how to answer that?
Yeah.
He took that really seriously, like being able to just, I was like, I don't think you're supposed to have every answer. I think you're just supposed to redirect them to the word. But yeah, that responsibility, that what I was saying, what I was modeling, like some of those more eternal things, and had more pressure to it, I think, for me. Did you experience that? Are you experiencing? I know she's so little. Like, share some of the things you're doing to share Jesus with her, and just how's that work?
So I have experienced being overwhelmed as a mom, and I feel like I have been described as a chill person.
You are.
But post motherhood, I feel like I am less chill than I was before, and sometimes overstimulated, which I never would have used to describe myself before.
That's true.
That's such good.
That's a good word.
We talk about it for kids and for babies, but like mom overstimulation is a lot, because you have the mental like burden almost, or just like awareness all the time of like, where's
Their
my
needs,
baby? How is my
different things.
baby?
Physical.
Yeah. And then over the house, over your schedule, just everything in your family, so that I have experienced quite a bit. And that's been something to adjust to, because I feel like an expectation that I had before being a mom was, okay, it's just going to be everything plus a baby,
Yes.
or like it's going to go back to how it was in the routine, and it'll just be a little different because they'll just have
an extra person there. It's like having a friend over.
Right. But nothing has been the same. Everything looks different.
Yeah.
And she is changing daily.
Right. Yeah.
With a new temperament, new reactions to things. We're trying to do baby-led weaning. That is an adventure.
Yeah.
Very messy adventure.
But it's introducing foods. I just learned about this.
Oh, okay.
So it's introducing how you try different baby foods, but not baby foods, like real food, right?
Yeah. You just cut it like certain ways,
so that they can try foods and stuff. Sorry,
it's very interesting. Yeah. But so definitely experienced that.
Well, something that just struck me from what you just said is that one of the things that my mom shared with me when I first had my children was, she said, no 2 days are ever the same. And I think I was a very routine person. I'm a very planner. If you listen to season 1, you'll know
Why is
that
this baby
I'm the
not on my
planner.
schedule?
And I was always like, okay, wait a minute. I've charted this course. Like, what's going on here? And she would tell me
good
her
perspective.
actual
Good
phrase
perspective.
was, babies are not robots. They are not going to do the same thing every single day. And
But I just trained them to do this.
And it has stuck with me because, and as your kids get older, it's still true. You know, no 2 days are the same. And even though you can gauge for things or anticipate a need or try to go through that, you do have to kind of give that reality check sometimes that no 2 days are the same.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And that babies have personalities.
Yeah.
Like I think you mentioned about it's not just another person there or another with a baby. Like a new purse or something. I know you don't think of your baby that way, but I'm just saying like, it's like, oh, we have this new item in the house or this new thing.
Well, and babies have so much stuff too.
Oh, that's
like
so true.
You're just like, wait a minute, why do they need so much stuff?
Going into work, I have a caravan that I bring upon me.
It's hilarious.
I usually carry like
we're
7 or
can
8
we carry
things.
something? And she's like, if I don't have it all, I won't remember everything.
Yeah.
That's
That's
funny.
It does. It looks like a little bit of a pack mule going in, but that's
So that was an expectation that the reality is obviously everything changes. And Evelyn didn't start sleeping through the night, obviously, until 3 months. But before that, we held her for every single nap, even through the night. Which some of that was she did not like sleeping in the bassinet. She would break out of every swaddle. She was preemie, sort of, so her nervous system was a little bit underdeveloped.
You didn't want to
so,
rush her.
Yeah.
She would scream every time, like, we put her down, so we would just hold her.
Yeah.
Joel and I would
24 hours a day.
It was wild.
Yeah.
I just had no sense of time or day.
Yeah.
Or it's night. It doesn't matter that it's night because your sleep schedule is just about the same, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like the first 3 months of her life are just kind of like, I survived.
Yes,
maybe.
you did. And look.
True. And
Yeah.
you're
You're
still
here.
here.
Yeah.
You're here.
You're at the 9 month
If
mark.
that's
so,
all
yes.
that new moms get out of this
Yes.
episode, we have a survivor of
Yes.
newborn
Yes.
life.
Definitely.
So she's
Definitely.
in that just delicious, but personality.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
going to say, I think that there's a part of us that is this baby going to be like me or like my husband? And you're not really prepared for this
Right.
whole other, this third.
Yes.
Yeah.
This third personality that's
Yes.
a little bit of this, a little bit of this, but really they're their own person. And
Very
it's
true.
neat the way God's created them to be.
Yes.
And some of the things you see in your children gifts wise come out later and you're like,
Yeah.
what a neat member
Yeah.
of this family this person is. I didn't know we needed
Yes.
the person who
Yeah.
was we got the encourager in the family or the practical,
Yes.
you know,
Or the entertainer.
yes, or my kid with the spreadsheets. What's
Yes.
going on with the Excel spreadsheets? He's holding me
Yes.
accountable to things. Like what?
Definitely.
I'm fine. I don't need you. You know, no, I'm just kidding. I do need him actually.
Well, Leanne and I are available to be on the hot seat tonight. So
you have a
we
question
wanted to
for us?
ask if you had a question for us.
I would like to know, you can decide which question you want to answer first, but I want to know, what would you say to yourself if you could go back to yourself as a first-time mom? What would you say to encourage her with all of the experience that you have now? And then any first-time mom hacks too. Yeah.
Well, I know for me, the first time mothering, you know, it really is to give yourself grace. There is no manual. And I think I spent a lot of time with anxious thoughts, thinking I wasn't doing something right, but always have good resources. And so whether that's a mentor mom, whether it's someone that you can contact, I had a plethora of people that just, 3 or 4 people that I would contact at a moment's notice to say, okay, what do I do now? And going back in time for me was, I think just knowing that sometimes there isn't a right or a wrong way. You just kind of have to do it. It's trial and error.
Right.
If it didn't work yesterday, let's try again tomorrow. The sun will go down and the sun will come up, and try it again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And I love that about the mentor mom thing, because I used to call it Ask a Mom Hotline. And
Is that a thing?
No, I picked people and said, you're my hotline. You need to
Leanne
answer
thing.
when I call you. Like
You made Ask a Mom. It wasn't like a 1-800 Ask a Mom.
At that time, like I was my own mom most of the
Yes.
time, but she was a elementary principal at the time. And she's like, I can't take your call at 1 p.m. I'm like,
yes.
well, that's when she's napping and I have questions. So
Yes.
you need to figure something out. You need to have some help. And so she's like, you need to make some friends.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So, and she was amazing and spent hours and hours analyzing every little, okay, she sneezed when I did this. Do you think that means this? Like,
Yeah.
I was so intense and analytical about it. But having a friend whose kids were 2 and 3, and just to say it was fresh enough
next
on their
stage.
mind,
Yeah.
but it was not so long ago that they could be like, oh yeah, that will pass. Or I had a friend that used to say, be glad you're cute, like to their kids and stuff. And it was just a sweet little
Yeah.
funny thing to kind of show, like, yes, this is hard, but God designed it to grow me and to grow them. So I think I went into motherhood thinking, I am going to shape this little human into a godly young man or woman, and it's all going to be linear, like this way. And what I would tell myself now is God is growing me too. And there were things that I needed from this child, for this child, strength that I didn't know I had. My only regret is the emotional part for me. I was really sensitive. And if someone tried to correct me on something and I wasn't asking for their help, I was like, why are you telling me I'm not doing what I'm doing? I was real sensitive about that, real defensive to be good at it. And yet I was asking for help too, or how does this supposed to be?
Yeah.
So I think I would understand that people were just trying to come alongside me maybe. And, we have a friend of y'all's, actually, a sweet friend that she has 4 littles, Nikki.
Yes.
And we bonded over when you have all the kids in the cart. You don't have enough room for your groceries because your cart is full of children.
Yes.
And people go,
and everything.
and people
Yes.
go, you got your hands full. Oh,
Classic
that's the
statement.
worst, dagger. And they're
Yeah.
trying to just have something to say and not just snub you, I think.
Yes.
But it never comes across
As an encouragement.
So I had this little liner where I would be like, I'm so thankful. I adore these kids. I'm so blessed. Just to kind of push that back. I'm not here to commiserate with you in the produce section. These are my children. They are a gift from God. And yes, I did the snap and point. Knock it off. We did that a lot, snapping and pointing. But they're my people to snap and point to, not you,
Yes.
So anyway, but that was just that understanding that the emotion of it, to give other people that maybe some grace too. So.
I know you mentioned the mom hacks and things.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think what would have been a mom hack for me, but I know there's so many gadgets that are out now that were not around before.
I keep hearing that.
So sometimes I look at new moms and I'm just like, man, you have it so much easier. And I don't say that
No, not
complacent.
not like the real,
But it's, there's just, I remember
There's cool
that.
stuff.
Yes,
Cool
there's
stuff.
so many cool stuff. There's been some great inventions.
And moms invented those
Yes,
things
and
because
moms
out of
invented.
necessity.
Yeah.
One of the things I would say a mom hack would be is that when, maybe you don't feel that encouragement sometimes and you're kind of get out of the house.
Yes.
And go
Change the
somewhere. Go
scenery.
to a restaurant maybe and sit in there, and maybe you'll see another mom go down an aisle in a Target or somewhere and kind of go in the baby section, and maybe you can see if that if you see another mom, and then just kind of be bold and ask questions and say, oh my gosh, how old is your baby, and how what have you found that works for you, or something. And so I also think God just really provides those resources. A lot of times you do feel a little desperation. You sometimes feel like I'm the only one that has dealt with this, and then all of a sudden you go into a sisterhood of motherhood, you go into a community space, and you realize that you're not the only one, and you can share that common bond. So I think just go and seek out people. So that's, I can't invent something at the moment or things, but I would say a mom hack would be to make sure.
And the amazing church ministry stuff that I know you have great access to that. But, and if you find that some of the moms are not on the same page with you about things, to just let that go rather than try to force that, because you will find like-minded people, especially as the kids get older, that you're like, we don't do this in our house, or we do this. And so finding and saying, we could be playground buddies, but we're probably not going to be in a situation where you're letting my children watch something I wouldn't be comfortable with.
Right.
And that's there's different, we've talked about this on the friendship thing. There's like different categories of friends, but you need if you think you need 2 hours of mom socialization, you really probably need 10. You know what I mean? Like there's just, you really don't burn out on that when they're so tiny like that. So, but
I guess, and so maybe like a mom tip would also be that don't be afraid to invite moms to your house. You know, I think sometimes we worry about having everything perfect or having, you know, little cute muffins on the counter or certain things like that. And all you need to do is have that fellowship time, and it encourages you. It can encourage you to keep going. You've had that rough day or rough week, and you just start sharing stories, and then your babies also make friends with different people, and so that's just an encouragement too. So I think I guess it wouldn't be a mom hack, but more like just a great idea to just be able to, you know, have that sense of community and don't worry about your house. Don't worry about the dishes. There's some, now I probably did take that too far because my husband would probably say that I never worried about the dishes. And that's
I'm bonding with my children. I can't be bothered.
I did probably take that too far, but I did have a great husband who would always come home and do the dishes. My husband does dishes. So, yeah.
But
so does mine.
Yeah, good job. Good job. I will tell you, one of my friends with toddlers when I had a baby was like, Blitz, we call it the Blitz, is like a quick cleanup at nap. Like, don't spend the whole nap.
True.
But if you have them,
and put a timer on.
Yeah,
put
give yourself 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Especially like their little toy area, because when they wake up, either there's in the night before they're done playing for the day, and to get older, and they just make a wreck of all the toys.
Yeah, like, you haven't gotten to that stage yet, but it's coming.
She's just
has a ton of toys already.
She does have the toys, but I'm saying like when you're sitting, because she can sit up and like you know, and they just dump a whole thing out.
Or dump peanut puffs.
Peanut puffs out in the meeting.
On herself.
It was all over. We were like, she's being quiet. This is a tiny baby that knows to be quiet when you're doing something. Yes, it was so cute. But anyway, that was a good tip for me, and not to spend the whole nap cleaning the whole house top to bottom, but just the kid stuff, the baby toys, to feel like there was some sanity in that and like reset, whether it's at nap or whether it's at bedtime. So and then you're also like couch time with your husband, and the toys are not overwhelming you, you know. So that was
very true.
So you probably knew that one, but that wasn't natural to me. I was a messy person. But.
Whoops. One question we want to make sure that we talk to share with you today is about something. I know you haven't been a mom for too long, but what is something that you would tell your younger self? Like, what is something that you would say, okay, I want to make sure that I can tell others about that can help them?
Or the next time you have a baby.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm still my younger self.
Yes, which is true.
I'm like all the way back before I had a baby.
All the way back
before I got my driver's license. So.
But I also feel like even in almost 9 months, I feel like I have changed so much already, because it's humbling. I realized how much of a sinner I am and selfish just by, you know, having Evelyn and, you know, being in a household when you're sleep deprived and when you are just, I like am more likely to snap at my husband because I'm, you know, sleep deprived, and I'm like, and I can't justify that, but sometimes when you're like, I'm sorry, I'm just tired, doesn't excuse it, you know. But I feel like the first thing that I would say to myself is that it's not about you, because there's just so, during the first like two and a half months where we were holding Evelyn for all of her naps, contact, I like feel like I felt entitled to a certain amount of sleep or a certain amount of hours. Yeah. And then it was silly, Joel and I, because he would sleep whenever I was holding her for a time, so we would try to like give each other like little
back
naps,
and forth,
you know. And then sometimes we'd be arguing about like, I had like less sleep than you did, so it's my turn
Show
for
me
nap.
your sleep, Matt. Yeah.
And then he would be like, but you had more hours, and I would be like, yes, but I didn't fall asleep until an hour and a half after because I was overstimulated.
Yes.
So it was just getting getting silly.
That's awesome.
But then we both realized that we were just approaching it really selfishly, as far as like, I am entitled to this amount of sleep, or this amount of me time, or this amount of recharge time. And then like it was us being selfish and then trying to do it in our own strength too.
True.
because my pastor / father-in-law convicted me during one of his sermons.
When your father-in-law is your pastor.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how like oftentimes we'll be like, oh, I just need to have some me time because that like I'll be fine after that. Oftentimes it's like disguised as I was trying to do it in my own strength and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And instead of trusting the Lord, I'm just going to go do my own thing for like a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of, when you get to the end of your strength, that's when you see the Lord move.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've been
That's
seeing
good.
that so often because I like have been sleep deprived for like a very long time.
Yes. Well, we're just thankful you joined us
I
today
know,
because I
I
know
know.
that is it is a
But
challenging stage.
that's
so,
that
yeah.
expectation versus reality of
Yeah.
you're thinking, oh yeah, they're gonna when they sleep through the night, I'm golden.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so you're always resetting that expectation versus reality
Yeah.
too, for
So
sure.
just like holding all of the things very loosely of your day, of your agenda.
True.
Even like with Bible time, it's interrupted sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like trying to get in 10 minutes here during a nap,
True.
or it's not like a luxurious like I had like until I gave birth where we had like a system of like an hour
Yeah.
before I go to work, and then we take a walk to talk about what the Lord's
Oh,
teaching
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Those things like it,
That's not
But
happening.
That's not
also,
happening.
also, it's like storing up in a season that you will use in another season.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just want to honor you in that and
Yeah.
just say like that was not wasted.
No.
That was like, so I know you know that, but I'm saying that is a really neat,
Yeah.
anything you're investing pre-kids
yeah, for
pays
sure.
off for that, or
Yeah.
when they are resting and you're recharging
sure,
in some way, spiritually.
And I think
So-
as they get older, you also have a comfort level that others can even watch her and things, and
Oh,
that
right,
you can
yeah.
have some date nights, and you can go on some things where it is important. And one of my mentor mom, Ruth, she shared with me years ago that she said it's okay to let others care for your child because it builds their self-confidence that there are others in this world other than you. And it was a little humbling for me
Yeah.
to hear that, because I was like, wait a minute, I
wanna
want to
be there all in all.
and stuff. But actually, it was the best advice because, and you can start small. It can be 30 minutes. It can be 1 hour. It can just, and it's not meaning that you have to leave her for a weekend,
Right,
but
right.
it's just realizing that it actually is great for her social development to realize that there are other people that can meet
Trusted
her
people.
needs, trusted people. And that's just really an important thing too, to just be able to expand on and have for sure.
and her
It's
little
very great.
personality, she's so precious. You've got to
Yes.
share her.
Yeah.
People want to hold her like me.
Well, I know that we
So, I
love
know.
this conversation.
I know, we could go forever, but
Expectation and
we
reality.
need to let you
and
take
we
her,
do,
put her to bed.
Yes,
So.
but we just love that you chose to come in. It's the sisterhood of motherhood. I mean, it's a connecting piece. We're hoping that these episodes are just going to resonate with our listeners, and that they're just going to understand that they're not alone. That they know that there are others just like them
That's right.
out there, and we are just trying to create that sisterhood for them as well.
And DM us if you have questions for Leanne.
Yeah. Yes.
Either Leanne or Diane.
Oh, yes, definitely. And you can always find out. We're going to be posting definitely all the different verses, the information, the things that we have shared on our episode on our Instagram, and find us there at Well Grounded Podcast.
Yes.
We're excited about you being with us today.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having
such a
me.
blessing.
Thank you for
Did
sharing.
you want my verse? that I-
Oh,
we
yes.
do. We do. We're
Okay.
gonna actually give us the give us the homework. So because we got to wrap, but we want to tell us what verse you would like to have us, and we're gonna share it with them. So
Isaiah 41:10
Okay.
has been my verse of the season.
okay,
That's great.
Isaiah 41:10. We're gonna.
We'll put it in those notes.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram to get that, or look it up
Information.
yourself. But we are so thankful for y'all, and we do want to just
Yeah.
wrap up and make sure that you know how much this series is meaning to us. It's
Yeah.
really a heart project for us,
Very much.
because of how essential it's been to us, and we're still in it.
Yeah.
You're a mother
Yeah.
forever. You're
Yeah.
always going to need that community, and you're going to need those sisters coming alongside you. So
Yeah.
all right, I'm going to wrap us up, okay?
Definitely.
I didn't want to
Yeah.
cut you off.
No,
but,
you're good.
So we just want to share this theme verse that we're looking into and studying and kind of pouring over in season 2.
And applying to each of our
Yes,
things.
this
Yeah.
application. And it's so, when we were praying about this, it's showing itself these two verses have been so meaningful for that. So Hebrews 10:24-25. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another. And all the more as you see the day approaching. So we are here just walking this out together. Thank you so much for being with us. Be refreshed.
Be encouraged.
And stay well grounded.